Today, Baba's 9th of November. And Baba is talking about sweetness. So what is sweetness? To be God's child doesn't mean to be 2 years old. And sweetness doesn't mean to be sugary. Something deeper, something different. And sweet as opposed to bitter. There are 4 possible tastes. You can have sweet, bitter, salty, and acid. So salty, acid, and bitter are all symbols for nasty character. And sweet refers to a character that gives love and regard. So that would be sweet. So the essence, sweet children, remember the sweet Father and the sweet kingdom, and you will become very sweet. And the question, by making what effort are you children becoming deities from ordinary mortals? Deities means the immortals. And the answer is that you are now taking a dip in the lake of knowledge. By bathing in knowledge, your characters are changing. So the problem with character in the system of the culture of the Iron Age is you're either a bit infantile or a bit patronizing, or you could be more of a predator or more of a victim. And the character he's looking for is people who are able to understand the equality of everyone's value while there are different roles, and by being able to be with people that you work with who are your equals. And that's very difficult for people. But this is what it seems he wants. By bathing in knowledge, your characters are changing. Your defects are getting removed. By remembering the Father and the world of Vishnu, you do become pure deities. Deities attract because of their purity. And because of this, people, the devotees, are drawn from far away to visit their temples. And the song is, our pilgrimage is unique. Om Shanti. You, sweetest spiritual children, heard the song. Only you children are remembered as lucky stars. So there is the sun of knowledge, the moon of knowledge, and there are you lucky stars of knowledge. The physical sun and moon give light to the stage of the world. And this is why you are praised as the stars of knowledge. Those stars in the sky cannot be called stars of knowledge. When people hear the word sun of knowledge, they think the form of God is like the sun. Have you seen the Egyptian devotion from ancient Egypt? They had this sun with hands coming down. Each ray had a hand on the end of it, so it would make the plants grow and make the people warm and like this. So, and they called it Ra, which is like Ram. So they think that, and then they also think that God is in the pebbles and stones. Many people believe in the sun, and such people call themselves those of the Sun dynasty. And they worship the sun, and they have a flag with the symbol of the sun. And Japan flag is like that, right? Yes. And Sun dynasty also, yeah? And in France, the King Louis XIV called himself the Sun King. So they like this. So your flag is the Trimurti. It is so wonderful. Wonderful means extraordinary. It is written on it, truth brings victory. Satyameva Jayata. This is the motto of India. And they have the flag with the cycle in it and this motto. And the Trimurti in their flag is 3 lions. So Shiv Baba enables you to gain victory over the whole world. You are the Shiv Shakti Pandav army. And that government has named streets and buildings after Trimurti. There is Trimurti Road and Trimurti House. These are in the center of Delhi, where the parliament is. The father explains the meaning of this and also the activities that he inspires through the Trimurti, so creation, sustenance, destruction. So he carries out the establishment through Brahma, and the religious authorities removed the name Shiva from the Trimurti, and in so doing falsified the image. You now know the secrets contained in the image of the Trimurti. So true Shiv Baba gives you the kingdom through Brahma. So we, his children, are once again claiming our kingdom of purity, peace, happiness, prosperity from Shiv Baba, exactly as we did in the previous cycle. Nowadays, some people, education is always given during celibacy. So before marriage, you get to be called a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Art. That presumes that you're not married. But nowadays, people take up courses after their marriage to increase their income. Here, your income is limitless. You children know that Shiv Baba has come to make you into the masters of the world. Shrimat is said to be the most elevated. Once a person becomes a child of Shiv Baba, he would definitely follow Baba's directions and not the dictates of his brothers. So the dictates of his brothers refer to the conventional social system of Iron-aged India, not individual ideas from individual guys. So you have been following those dictates, those conventions for many births, and there has not been benefit by doing that. Now, you have to follow Baba's directions. All the sages and holy men, the religious authorities, they're your brothers. So whatever they tell you is the conventions of that time. So the Father has now come to give you Shrimat. So what they are giving you is Parmat. Many people take a nature cure for their health, and all of that benefits you for a temporary period. But this nature cure cures your nature, for human nature becomes changed for 21 births. And those people in the nature cure spas, they get you to take a bath in cold water and do this and take precautions with your food and drink. So they make you fast and exercise and all this stuff. So here, it's not a question of food and drink. Here, the sweet Father is telling you, children, now remember me, and you will become very sweet. Deities are sweet. They attract a lot. Earlier, in previous times, the temples of Shiva were built high up on the mountains, and people would go on foot to have a darshan of the deity. Darshan is not exactly a glimpse, but it's that you go in front of them and you look at them for some time, just stand in front of them. A glimpse is extremely quick, but darshan is longer, but it's about sitting there looking at them. And this is because they will be pulled by their purity. So when the deities were pure, they also ruled the world. And now people go and bow in front of their images and they salute them. Everyone now remembers that sweet Father. He has now come here. They definitely receive much happiness and prosperity in heaven through him. And this is why they remember him. So the Father comes when it is the end of the kingdom of Ravan, and he gives you the kingdom of heaven. So most people think that Ravan is only the 5 vices. That's just part of it. But in the image of Ravan, he has his 10 heads, no doubt, but he also has 4 arms. And his 4 arms are containing his weapons. And his weapons are weapons of war, military weapons, and scriptures, and also the knowledge of science. And he controls the elements of matter. So the rule of Ravan refers to the power of military and religious authority and the authority of science. So it's quite materialistic. So it's not just only the 5 vices that's the problem, but it's the other things even more. So those things created hell, and the Srimad gives rise to heaven. Baba comes only in Bharat, and in Bharat, people celebrate Shiv Jayanti, the birth of Shiva, but they do not know what they would receive from Shiva. The Father says, I have come to make you children sweet. You became unclean. Baba is knowledgeful, and you are now receiving all the knowledge. Only the seed would have all the knowledge, and he is the seed, the truth, the living, conscious one. He is also the ocean of knowledge, and so he speaks the truth. He too is a soul, but he is the supreme soul. So the supreme soul means God, and he dwells permanently in the world of light, the supreme abode, Paramdham. He is the highest on high. Many say that he has no name and no form. But there can be nothing without a name or a form. What happens when anyone discovers something? They immediately give it a name, take a picture of it, then it's got a name and a form. So everything has to have a name and a form. So yet they believe God has no name and no form because he has no physical name or form. His name is Shiva, and everyone worships the image of the Shiva Lingam. He is the incorporeal, and he has now come. Up until now, we were body conscious. That means materialist. Mother Father now says, children, may you be soul conscious. In the Gita, it is written, Man Mana Bhav. That means you have to be able to perceive the being of God. And then they put the name of Krishna instead of the name of Shiva. So you're perceiving a physical body with Man Mana Bhav, so it won't work. Man Mana Bhav only works if you're perceiving someone, just the soul, without a body. So putting the name of Krishna in the Gita falsified it. That means whatever you read, if you think it's about a physical deity, it will not work. You cannot receive a kingdom by reading books anyway. The kingdom is in the golden age, and the Father definitely has to come at the confluence age. Now, according to the drama, the period of bhakti is coming to an end. And after bhakti, there is gyan. So in the aphorisms, they say gyan, bhakti, vairagya. And after vairagya, there's again gyan. So after bhakti, there is gyan. This is the old world, whereas the golden age is the new world. The Sun dynasty ruled in the golden age. And this is Raj Yoga, by which you change from a mortal into Narayan or Lakshmi. So there is a saying, Nar to Narayan, Nari to Lakshmi. They keep segregating souls as if they were having a gender, but they don't have genders. It was their kingdom, Lakshmi and Narayan's kingdom, in the golden age. But look at what there is in the Iron Age now. So in the Iron Age in India, as Baba was speaking, there was the Democratic Republic of India, and they had lots and lots and lots of different parties. And that created a great deal of difficulty to govern because they kept changing everything. And so Baba didn't like the system of democracy because of that. So you are now studying once again in order to go to the golden age. The Vedas and Shastras of the path of bhakti have to be renounced. Once you have received the knowledge, there is no need for bhakti. So bhakti means search. So once you've got it, you don't need to look for it. We become the masters of the world through knowledge. The Father has come to give us the fruit of devotion. He is speaking knowledge to us. We definitely have to become pure from impure, because when a soul is impure, it cannot go back to the soul world. And it is just pure souls who dwell in the world of nirvana, the world of mukti. In the world of happiness, too, all souls are pure. And now in the Iron Age, all are impure. So who would get them to become pure? Only the one Father is the purifier. And the Father says, I come at the end of the last of his many, many births. So this is also from the scriptures, this statement. The greatest devotee of all was this Dada. So you remember yesterday I was talking about the necessity of being a high-level religious person at the time when religion was high level. So you can call him Brahma, or you can say he is the soul of Lakshmi and Narayan. Both. This is a very deep thing that has to be understood, right? Because Vishnu is the symbol of Lakshmi and Narayan. It's not Lakshmi or Narayan. They're again segregating the souls gender-wise. So Brahma emerged from the navel of Vishnu, and Vishnu emerged from the navel of Brahma. So Vishnu becomes Brahma after 84 births, but these things are not mentioned in the scriptures. The father also, means Brahma Baba, also used to read the Gita, study the Gita. But when he received the knowledge and he had a vision of Vishnu, and he saw that Shiv Baba was giving him the kingdom of the world, then he put aside reading the Gita. So Shiv Baba had entered him. And after that, he didn't touch it again. He began to remember the one Father alone. So this Brahma Baba says, I began to listen to that Father, Shiv Baba. And Shiv Baba says, when I speak to the children, this one also listens. So there's big difference between Brahma Baba as medium of Shiv Baba and Dadi Gulzar as the medium of Avyat Bab Dada, because Brahma Baba was a medium who was awake and aware while Shiv Baba was speaking, so they could both speak. But with Dadi Gulzar, she's in trance, so she was a trance medium. And Brahma Baba is not a trance medium. So that's an interesting difference. So Shiv Baba says, I entered his body. Body is the chariot of the soul. And this is why he is called Arjuna, because God comes into the chariot of Arjuna and starts giving him knowledge. So in the scriptures, they have illustrated this as Arjuna is a warrior and riding a horse-drawn war chariot, and with Krishna as the driver. And there is so much difference. Did God sit in a horse-drawn chariot with a warrior on the battlefield and give knowledge to only one person? You now understand that that could not have been possible. This is all symbolic. Now you can see how Baba is teaching you in a practical way. So he's teaching through the body of Brahma Baba, and there's always lots of people listening, not hundreds of thousands and millions, but quite a lot. There are so many centers, and it is definitely a school. This is not a battlefield. A school is needed to teach you, not a battlefield. Baba is teaching you Raj Yoga. In the Golden Age, there are no scriptures. I have now spoken this knowledge, and that's it. There is no need for any knowledge in the Golden Age. Everything in this old world will turn to dust. So you have to dispossess yourself of everything. This is the sacrificial fire of knowledge in which the horse is sacrificed. So this chariot, this body, is called the horse, and this too has to be sacrificed. So they have a ritual where they sacrifice a horse little by little into the fire. The soul belongs to the Father, and then the old body will be destroyed. That means the soul of Brahma Baba gives himself to Shiv Baba, and then the old body will be destroyed. You will not take your unclean old bodies to the land of Krishna. The souls are immortal. When they burn the Holika on the festival of Holi, they make a ball of dough and they tie a string around it. And so that ball of dough gets burned in the fire, but it has water in it. So that keeps the thread unburnt, and so it remains. So that is the symbol that the body gets burnt, but the soul doesn't. The Baba is explaining unlimited things to you. That means he's telling you the symbolic meaning. Forget what you have heard from the path of devotion up until now. Bharat has now become the land of falsehood. All the beliefs and conventions, they think that the symbols are real and the real things are symbols. So it's all backwards. But yesterday it was the land of truth. And the Father made it into the land of truth. And then Ravan made it into the land of falsehood by material-based ideas. This Ravan is everyone's oldest enemy. And so they just follow whatever anyone says. For example, in the Dilvaran temple, they have named Adidev as Mahavir. But Mahavir is Hanuman. So there's a big difference between them. Now, your accurate memorial is that temple. So in the temple, they show the deities of heaven on the roofs of the alcoves, and below it, the yogis doing tapasya. And they have made a golden image of Adinath. So you have Adidev, Adinath, Mahavir, these are all the same. And Adinath is a statue doing meditation, and they covered it in gold leaf. So they say that Bharat used to be the golden sparrow. And there is not as much gold anywhere else as there was in Bharat. There were palaces built of gold, and the roofs and walls were inlaid with diamonds and jewels. And then they had so many diamonds and jewels in the temples of the Copper Age. And these were then looted, and they're looted by Muhammad Ghaznavi, who then put all these jewels into the mosques. What would their value have been at that time? There was plenty of wealth, which is why they were looted. Everyone knows that ancient Bharat was very wealthy, and they think loot is an English word, but it's actually a Hindi word. But it got absorbed into the English language, like pajama and other such Hindi words. Everyone knows that ancient Bharat was very wealthy, and it has now become so poor. You feel pity for people who are poor. Ravan made you so insolvent, and the Father is now making you solvent once again. How do you get poor? Basically, you get poor when you're greedy and you use up everything and then you lose everything. So this is an unlimited play, but no one knows the beginning, the middle, or the end of this drama. The Father is knowledgeful, and that doesn't mean that he looks at what's going on inside each individual, because all that is fixed in the drama. Whatever sin anyone commits, he will definitely receive punishment for it. I am called the knowledgeful and the purifier. People call out, "Oh, Baba, come and give us knowledge and purify us." There's a connection between knowledge and purification. I come and I carry out this task. The Father says, first of all, forget everything from the scriptures and listen to what I'm telling you. You are now studying Raj Yoga with the Father, and you will become part of the Sun dynasty, and then the Moon dynasty, then the Merchant dynasty, then the Shudra dynasty. Actually, there's no Merchant dynasty or Shudra dynasty, but clan. You have this knowledge in your intellects, but you will have forgotten everything in the Golden Age. No one remembers the Father there. Once they have received their inheritance, why would they remember him? So no religion in the Golden Age. Everything is explained to you so well. These things are not mentioned in any of the scriptures. The Lord of the tree, Brahaspati, the father of the tree, is the one Father, and he says, remember me. Is there just the one creator, or would the pebbles and stones also be creators? The Father says, Ravan spoilt your intellect so much. So Ravan in this case refers to the scientific knowledge and the Vedantic knowledge, which says that the sixth element of light is God. So then all the elements are connected with that. And so they thought like that. All the great scholars have so much arrogance. They do not know the Father at all. They do not know the beginning, the middle, or the end of the creation either. So the Father says, I gave you the kingdom, and then you used up all the wealth, and now you are begging. So this is a reference to the government of India, which became really impoverished after partition and everything. And so they had to ask for money from the IMF and all these sources. So this is why the devilish community has been remembered. They sing so much praise of the deities, and then they say for themselves, we have no virtues. You children now have to imbibe virtues and remove your defects, overcome your defects. Ravan made you become like monkeys. So monkeys refers to the 5 vices. And the Father is now making you into deities. Those who have the 5 vices in them are said to be monkeys. And they have the story of Narad, who looked like a monkey because he was angry. Your characters are now changing, and you will then become deities. So there's a comparison between sweet and aggressive, especially verbal abuse as the monkey behavior. By taking a dip in this lake of knowledge, we are becoming not really angels, but Pari. Pari is different from an angel. Pari is beautiful and subtle. Angels are different. So they have then taken this to mean a lake of water. But this is a matter of bathing in knowledge. You children know that Baba is once again explaining to us exactly as he did 5,000 years ago. There cannot be any doubt about this. Remember the purifier Father and the land of Vishnu, and you will become pure. People try so hard to achieve mukti, liberation, and some believe that the souls will merge into the light, and some think that souls do not reincarnate. There are many different concepts, but no one knows the Father. And the whole world thinks that the speaker of the Gita is Krishna. But here, the Father says it is God Shiva, not God Krishna, who speaks the Gita knowledge. So the speaker of the Gita, the Father says, God Shiva speaks the knowledge of the Gita. And there is a difference of day and night. They have completely changed the name. Acha. Both Bab and Dada say sweetest children. Both Shiv Baba and Brahma Dada say sweetest children because you are children of both of them. This one, Brahma Baba, is a student, and you are also students. This one is also studying. Those who are engaged in the service of purifying Bharat are his children. Baba sees but doesn't focus on those who do not become pure. He recognizes that they will have to go through punishment, and then they will become cooks in the golden age. And those who become pure, remain pure, they will become the masters of the world. So everything to do with purity. So cooks are like servants. So in Gyan, it's different from other places because people are just having to really just be with their own karma. And then you have to just be with the karma of the other people. And so there's quite an interesting secret in that accountability is not, or you're not called to account in the process, you're called to account at the end. And in other organizations and all that, people get called to account along the way. But here not. You get called to account at the end. So some BKs get confused about this and they say, why is this one or that one not getting called to account? But there is a deep secret behind that. And that is that you know what's going on. And Baba knows more what's going on. But you only have to get called to account at the end, which is quite bad. But that's the rules of this game. It's a game. Acha, to the sweetest, beloved, long lost and now found children, love, remembrance, and good morning from the mother, the father, Bab Dada. And the spiritual father says namaste to the spiritual children. The spiritual children say namaste to the spiritual father. So the essence for dharna, in order to become sweet, remember the sweet father with a lot of love. Remain true to the Father and follow the elevated directions of the one Father. Sweet is, in this whole Murli, sweet is opposed to anger. And anger, you get angry when you don't agree with something, or you have righteous indignation, or you don't like something. And so he's teaching us something quite discreetly. And this is connected with not calling people to account. And so if a person is doing all kinds of wrong things, it's between them and their conscience. And they're listening to the Murli, so they're hearing about it all the time. And, in this process, there's no need to do anything about it. Like Baba said in the Murli yesterday, internally, that bad behavior is fixed in drama, and externally you report it to the police. So internally, you know that whatever anyone is doing, they're creating their future. And if you interfere with that by calling them to account, then it's not going to really change their future, but it is going to get in the way of you creating your future. So this is a very deep piece of karma philosophy that we don't hear about very often. So Baba says, make effort and become perfect. Do the service of purifying Bharat and don't have doubts about anything. Doubts means that if you don't understand something, don't get sort of angry about it or consider it not right, but get clarification. So in Hindi and Indian world, when you use the English word doubt, you mean something like you don't agree with it, you criticize it, and you don't think it's right because you don't agree with it. And there are things that happen, and you use faulty logic. So Baba's teaching us a very, very different kind of moral logic from what you would learn from your society. And this element of understanding that no one will be called to account in advance. They'll be called to account at the end, but they will be called to account. And you need to know that that is the case. And the other thing is that when someone does something that is very against Baba, and among BKs, you don't get called to account, but the drama can call you to account. That also happens. The drama will call you to account through some unforeseen circumstances. And we have many, many examples of this, because some people, they're able to hide what they're doing extremely well. And yet, some quirk of the drama will reveal everything, and then it'll all blow up in their face. So in that case, they are called to account a little early, but the ultimate calling to account will be at the end. So it's a very deep thing. Blessing. May you see the essence of everything as an easy effort maker and become an all-rounder. Whatever you see and hear, understand the effort, the essence of it, and let the words you speak and the actions you perform be full of essence, and your efforts will then become easy. The essence means the essence is volatile, right? We talked yesterday about the 4 states of matter. So the essence is really the vapor. And so perfume is like essence. And when you understand the depth of everything in the context of the drama and karma and everything, then you're easy about it. So such easy effort makers become all-rounders in every situation. No defects are visible in them, and they do not lack courage in any situation. And they never say things like, I cannot do this. Such easy effort makers are simple-hearted, and they also make others simple-hearted. And the slogan, while using all the facilities, be detached from being influenced by them and remain loving to the Father. So facilities these days is all the communications technology that we have, all of our devices and so on. So if you come under their influence, you become addicted to them. So we have to watch out for that. And one fine day they won't work. So at that time, just be easy. And transportation facilities and all the things of the comforts of the world, they will be gone at some point. So there it is. Oops. I just want to see this word for the simple heart. Saraldil, Saraldil. So saral is a word that also means that you're very flexible. Because in English, simple-hearted is not quite exactly clear what that means. No, we never use that word. But you see, there are many words in Hindi that you have to really think about in their context and how people generally use them. Because if you make a literal translation, no one will really understand what you mean. So saral, I think a very good example of saral is Dadi Prakashmani. And I think a lot of us knew her. And she was very light and easygoing. And she, even when some quite difficult decision had to be made, she would consider it and she would make good decisions, but lightly. So saral has this aspect of lightness about it. And saral also means that you're flexible in relationships, because everyone is an ocean of idiosyncrasies, right? All kinds of weird and wonderful characteristics. And when they don't fit with you, then you say they're not okay and I can't be with them. Whereas Baba's saying, okay, that's looking at it only from your perspective. But if you look at it from a wider perspective and you see there's a dance going on and all the dancers are doing different dances, but it still has to have some kind of choreography. And so if you can adjust yourself to all these different characters without losing yourself, that is also saral. So it's not exactly simple-hearted, because when you hear the word simple-hearted in English, you think simple-minded. And simple-minded means something missing in your brain. But this is not what is meant by saral dil, but that you don't get angry with people. I mean, this Murli was all about this comparison of sweetness and anger. And in human relationships, in a patriarchal society where it's all about hierarchies, and there are many people in BK, they don't like hierarchy. And there has to be hierarchy, and nobody has anything against hierarchy in and of itself. But what you would be against is when the hierarchy, or somebody in a high position in the hierarchy or a low position in the hierarchy, expresses their displeasure in an aggressive manner. or they express their position in an aggressive manner, or they put people down or something like this and get away with it. And so then people say the problem is the hierarchy. It's not. Hierarchy is just a neutral thing, but it's how people express themselves depending on their consciousness. So if you are in a high position, but you are not a powerful soul, then you would hold on to your position by being aggressive. And people won't like that because they will get that you're not a powerful soul and you're abusing your power. And they won't like that. And they will say the problem is hierarchy, but it's not. Because on another example, if you have somebody who is a powerful soul and in a high position, like good example is Dadi Prakash Mani, very powerful soul in the topmost position of all, but never abused her power, never, and always interacted with people with regard, but never forgot that she had the last word. So it was an extremely interesting balance of personality and very good, I think, very good leadership style. But not everybody's like that. She was one of a kind. And this is why Baba chose her, because when Baba left the body, I think the rest of the family anticipated that the person who would be given the lead role would be Didi, Manmohini, or someone else who was older in age, because there's always a difference between Baba and the BKs. He's always ahead. and BKs are, to a greater or lesser extent, very much under the influence of the social conventions. And Brahma Baba, under the direction of Shiv Baba, presented something very different, which was opposed to the social conventions. And that's why everybody gave him such a hard time. But the other BKs never really had to face those social conventions as Brahma Baba did. And to some extent, yes, but you find that most people, and just look at your own self, to what extent are you under the influence by the moral philosophy that you grew up with? And it's a very strong influence because, everybody has their own moral logic. And the example today of accountability coming later and not at the time is quite a good example of this, because most people's moral logic compels them to wave red flags and saying, hey, accountability, we must have accountability. And Baba says in this sentence, Baba sees but doesn't look at the sins of the people. And I remember a particular situation where Dadi Prakash Mani also did this. And someone had created a legal document and signed the name Dadi Prakash Mani as the signatory of this legal document. And the document was actually not very wise. And it put the BK organization in big trouble. And it was done secretly. And then it was found out that some BK had done this. And there was damage as a result of it. And at the same time, Daddy Prakashmani had to go through very severe health crisis. And when that was over and they found out this person, she announced that because this damage was done in her name, even though it was done by someone else, she had to suffer for it. And that was what her suffering was about. And I thought, wow, this is very different. But she got it. I don't think any one of us would have understood it in that way, but she did. And so you can also understand that the way and the depth to which this study was taught and understood by the dadis was on a much deeper level. And of course, Baba would teach, he teaches everybody equally in the Murli, and everything is there in the Murli. But then you have to pull it out because it's quite discreetly put in there so that it's not obvious at all. You have to really extract it. But of course, the daddies knew how to do that, and they did that. So there's just so much that is not obvious, and many people they take this knowledge quite superficially, and that's okay. But why do we study year after year after year after year? It has to be because there's stuff in there that is very deep and that is the real stuff. But I think you have to, and on some level, you have to qualify to get that information. And the qualifications must be connected with your purity, your clarity of understanding, and your motivation. All of these things, if they're present, they kind of open up doors, and you can go in and understand stuff that people who are not on that level, they just remain ignorant about, and they don't really qualify to know. Sometimes I've had conversations with people who tell me, okay, I want to know your secrets. And there are secrets. But I also experience that even if you have secrets, and even if you're willing to share your secrets, a drama will stop it. That person is not pure enough to hear that. They don't have the right motivations. And so you just are not able. It's a very strange thing. Have you experienced something like that? Yeah. So there are forces going on that are quite subtle. And here we are being his instruments, and he will not let you, use the screwdriver for this screw. No, not allowed. You can unscrew this screw when it's the time or when it's the right person or whatever. So that's what it means to be an instrument.
When I was studying to play the flute, sometimes people come and say, "Oh, can I try your flute?" And I always say, "No, you need to get your own." Because then, it's not that if you try somebody's flute, you will sound like this or that. So,
but you see, what happens with any piece of equipment is it absorbs your vibrations. And if somebody else uses it, it contaminates it. And so you can't. Yeah. I experienced the same. I won't let people use my equipment. You probably won't let somebody ride your bicycle? No, huh? Yeah, because it's like it becomes an extension of your body. You wouldn't let somebody use your body, excuse me. So in the same way, your stuff. And you see also with food, when you eat food that is not what you cooked, there's another vibration. It may be another Brahmin, but still another vibration. And so a time comes when you're very, very sensitive to these vibrations, and you want to have only that which corresponds to you. So your food, your clothes, you wouldn't let somebody wear your clothes or wear somebody else's clothes. There's different vibration. And even the building, your vibrations, your atmosphere. So it's all, you can see that how we change the world by yoga, because you're constantly exuding and radiating vibrations of Baba's remembrance. And it's funny, in major earthquakes, the place that doesn't fall apart is Baba's room. Maybe some part of the center falls down, Baba's room not, because there's the highest intensity of vibrations is there, you know. And like there's a big difference between Panda Baba and Shantivan. As vibrations of Brahma Baba and the Dadis is more there. And it's a wonder.
Chandruban used to say that there was a lot of vibration, high vibration on the Pandavavan side. So once you step out to the street, there's difference. But now there's Om Shanti Bhavan, so souls are going back and forth. So now that distinction is not there anymore.
Yeah, it's different. But still in between, there's other vibrations. And it's really very, very strong. Yeah.
So what is the difference between Dil and Dimag?
Dil and Dimag. Dil is heart, Dimag is brain. That's the difference. And sometimes you hear it head and heart. And there was Avyat Murli maybe 2-3 weeks ago where Baba talked about the head and the heart and gave a lot of importance to the heart. If you say something from the heart, it will strike the heart and they will be touched. If you strike the head, they won't be touched.
Where is Dil in the soul? Is it in the mind, intellect, or sanskaras?
Dil is the mind.
Another question, how many centers were there in 1969?
No idea. But it'd be like a few hundred. Maybe a couple of hundred.
Please expand the context in which Baba refers to be sweet from today's Murli. Being
well,
sweet.
I've been doing that for the last hour and a half. It's this difference between, see, when you're aggressive because you're arrogant and you get harsh and you put people down and all this type of behavior, that's, I was saying the 4 different tastes that you have: sweet, salty, acid, or bitter. These are the 4 possibilities on your tongue. And the variations of flavor is depending on your nose. So that's the difference between the olfactory and the taste. So, and sweet is about your personality, and you could be acid, you could be bitter, or you could be salty, and that's to do with how you speak to people. Salty words, sometimes Baba says, don't be like salt water, be like sugar. And so these are symbols for how you treat people. And so sweet is someone who recognizes people's value and talks to them as equals. And respects them. You don't see people as objects or less than or something like that.
I might have asked this question before, maybe it may be a repeat. So when Brahma Baba left the body, I heard the last 4 years was pretty much within the compound wall of Panda Bhavan. He was not going out for a lot of walks and stuff. And last 4 years, that's when he was preparing himself to be subtle enough to be in yoga for a long period of time. And Chandruben also used to say that when she used to touch, she used to feel like, oh, it is very soft and not like a physical. And so what is the practice Baba was doing, and what is that we need to do now so that we can make ourselves at home in subtle region or subtle stage?
Well, it depends very much on who you are more than what your practice is. And so you really have to find yourself and recognize who you are, because it's preparation for death. It's also preparation for rebirth. And, you know, once you know who you are, you know what to do. But you see, some people, they think they're high or low. And so they go into the ego of superiority or inferiority, and then they can't find themselves. And many people, you know, everybody, you're reflected by who you're around. And mostly the kind of training that you get from the world is everybody around you says, I know who you are, you don't know who you are. But the reality is they have no clue who you are, as well as you don't know who you are. And so they will reflect you as how they want you to be. And so if they decide you're nothing in particular, they'll keep reflecting that and make you believe that that's what you are and prevent you from finding yourself in that manner. And then there's others, they think, oh, this is nice, and they sort of put them up, but they don't actually have the qualifications to be in that high position. And so then they end up being not very good. And so to me, the most important is to find yourself, to really know who you are. And for that, you have to be so different, so separate from the people around you who approve or disapprove or whatever. And that some people can do that, not everybody can do that. Because people, you know, some people are more solitary creatures. And so for them, it's a little easier to be free from everybody else, but no one's totally free. And especially the people who you respect. If you respect somebody very much, and yet that person puts you down, then you'll believe it. And if it's someone who puts you up, you'll believe that. And so then things get all wrong because of that. So that's a problem sooner. But yeah, I would say the best thing is to really find yourself. And it's very hard going to find yourself, because then you have to deal with it. That's a kind of ego death as well, because you have to go away from being put up or being put down, or putting yourself up or putting yourself down. And you have to be as it is, and stick with that, and there will be opposition. But that's how it is. So Brahma Baba always knew who he was, because Shiv Baba was sure again and again, you are Brahma, you are going to be Vishnu, you are Narayan. Same with Mama. But everybody else, he didn't say who they are. I mean, Daddy Janghi told me that Baba used to tell her fairly frequently, you are number 2. And because they were always trying to find out who was what number. And Baba would say to her, you are number 2. So, and often, because the rest of the BKs didn't think very highly of her. And when she came back from many years in foreign countries, there is a belief in India that if you go to foreign country, you get contaminated. So when Gandhi went to England, he was terrified of that, and he just went in his room and didn't come out. So he never really participated in his time in England. And you see, Brahma Baba never went out of India, and this was very important because the society would never accept him as Brahma if he had gone out. And so there was a situation in drama where he was about to go out and something stopped it, so he didn't. And that, this gyan is always in the context of the conventions of India, which are very opposed to it, but they're very influential. So it's quite difficult to operate in that environment, but you have to.